The throat is a true secret, but don't think it's the only way of picking a good pigeon. As you heard here, our champions first judge a bird by its pear-shaped body conformation and its slightly weight-forward balance in hand. Then they look for silky feather quality. These two are vital components. Only when a bird passes these tests would they bother to look in the pigeon's throat. That's because a bird with a perfect throat but bad balance or feather is still a bad pigeon. Also, don't even bother to look at the throat unless the bird is healthy and rested. The best time of year is winter, particularly November after the molt, and it's best to shut birds in a nest box or an uncrowded basket overnight before you can make accurate observations. Also, don't bother to judge the throat of a bird younger than 6 months. First, it's dangerous because the beak is tender, and also the bird's body, including the throat, is still growing. Let's reinforce what our champion said. Be careful when you open a bird's mouth, and make sure you have good light to do an examination. Now here is the first of 3 key things you are looking for: the width and straightness of the line between the curtain at the back of the bird's mouth. For 10 points, this line must be about the width of a human hair. It should generally lay straight, but the curve can be affected by how you hold the bird. You'll get better with practice. When you open the mouth, wait about 5 seconds for the curtain to settle. The 10-point line is as wide as a human hair. A 9-point has a line twice as wide as a 10. An 8-point throat has a gap twice as wide as a 9. So an 8-point throat has an obvious gap, but if it's straight, the bird still has potential. Second, observe the color of the curtain. You're looking for a light rosy pink as the perfect color. Third, and often hardest to see, are marks on the curtain. This is very important. Even a slight horizontal mark is a sign of stress. You'll often see these marks on a pigeon's throat during the racing season. However, by winter, after the molt, these marks should be gone. If noticeable marks can still be seen on the curtain after the molt, our champions will usually not race or breed that bird again. And finally, remember that learning to read the throat takes time, months, even years. But the more you observe, the better you will become at this important skill. In order to demonstrate how learning this skill can help you select your breeders or save money if you buy birds, I asked Frank Tasker to show a bird that was perfect except for one secret flaw.
Yeah, if I walked into an auction and saw this pigeon on display and his pedigree on display, I would immediately go and look to that pigeon. He's beautiful. He's got a lovely bold head. His feather quality is superb. His balance is good. His pedigree is brilliant. And you think, oh, he's got a lovely strong eye. Everything about him is good. And then I look to the throat. And there we have a throat that's of no value whatsoever. The line between the curtains is twisted and damaged. There's been heavy scarring at some time. You can see that about 1/8 of an inch up from the bottom. Going horizontally, it's healed quite a bit, but no, that is a throat, and it's absolutely worthless. And that can come about through some very, very hard racing, being missing from the loft for a month or more, and come back and you think the pigeon's recovered, but when you look in the mouth, it's gone. That's a bad throat. You can see the scarring from the line down the centre is not straight at all. In fact, it's quite open in places. And the line, the scarring across the bottom, shows a sign that the bird at some time has had an awful lot of stress and it's never really seriously recovered from it. And you can see in the bird's throat that the line between the two curtains is crooked, very badly twisted, and the horizontal line across the bottom of the throat shows you the scarring and stress that the pigeon's been through. Now at this time of the year, November, that should be gone. And this pigeon, no, it's completely and utterly finished for racing or for breeding. The line has gone off straightness and it's got an indentation like a scar right across horizontally. No, there. Now you can see at the bottom of the throat, the bottom of the central line, another line going across the bottom. And that's damage, that's stress, and that's not repairable. Yeah, now this young cock, he's had quite a heavy season, hasn't performed particularly well, and if you look in his throat there, then you know that's not enough points. It's just not, it's not good enough for me. He's had hard racing, his throat's not recovered from it, and again, that's a pigeon I wouldn't have in my racing team. Now this pigeon shows a very wide line in his throat. It's reasonably straight, but the gap between the two curtains is too big, and I wouldn't give that pigeon a 7 even. He would be 6 and something, and you know, you just don't bother with them like that. Now this cock, as you look straight into his throat, that for me would be just under the borderline to stay in the racing team. You can see his, this would nearly be an 8, but not quite for me. It's not a pigeon that I would reject immediately, but he doesn't carry enough points for the racing team. But his throat for me is too dark, and the scoring on that throat wouldn't be enough to have a pigeon that was going to be very successful. 7 points on there. I wouldn't give it any more than 7. That for me wouldn't be suitable for my breeding loft or my racing loft. The line's straight, but it's wider. There's a bigger gap between the two curtains, but it's still straight. And that pigeon we would give about 8 points. That would be the maximum gap we'd like to see in the curtain. Anything bigger than that, we'd reject it completely. This is a 2-year-old cock that's had quite a lot of work in his time. He's showing still a good throat. It's a little dark in colour to what I usually like, but then he's only just growing his last flight. I would give this pigeon an 8. This young cock was one of my best yearlings this year. He actually won the Perth Federation Championship race, which is 300 miles almost. Right, now this pigeon, he won the first prize on a 300 plus mile race with the wind on his head. Now that is a beautiful throat. That is as near perfect as you'll get with a racing pigeon. It's a beautiful curtain, lovely straight line. It's barely any wider the slit than the human hair. That's what we're looking for. That straight line in the middle with the two curtains. This was one of my top racing pigeons, and he's now been placed in the breeding loft. He's the father of 5 very good pigeons. 5 very good pigeons. A lovely pair of curtains there, and directly central. There. That's the bit we want. Yep, there. Absolutely perfect, and you can see the tongue part in the groove, Jim.
So there you have examples of how great the variation can be in a team of pigeons. From throats that have wide gaps and permanent scarring, to throats with a hairline, a perfect center line, and an unmarked, light rosy pink curtain.